Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Project Podcast presented by Project Insulin. I'm very excited today. This is our first episode of 2025, and it is with Tom, who is a type 2 diabetic who I met at the American Diabetes Association State of Diabetes event in November of 2024. This will be Tom's first podcast episode ever. So starting off the new year, doing something new, which we're very excited for you. So Tom, introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself, and then we'll get into diabetes.
So my name is Tom. I am 54. I'll be 55 in about 7 days on the 20th. Thankfully, still here to celebrate that. I work for the Logan Airport Hilton, the shuttle driver for them, and I almost died a year ago, January 1st, when I was found unresponsive in my room and ended up going into a diabetic coma for 4 days. I was excited to get more information and went to the American Diabetes Association info session, met you, and just thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to hopefully telling people about my story, encouraging people to keep going. It's a disease, obviously, but you can live with this disease and live a normal life. So I'm just glad to be here.
Yeah, and I think when we first met, you shared, first of all, you're very open about sharing your story and sharing what happened to you and getting into it, which I really appreciated. But just the energy and passion you have about living in life after what happened, and obviously we'll get into it in a minute. I thought that was something that was really exciting for me to have you on the podcast. I thought that would be a really cool thing to hear and for others to hear and learn about. Tom, again, thank you for coming on. And yeah, so first of all, New Year's, you're never going to forget the date anyway.
It was a
Even if
very
you wanted to,
emotional week for me last week, for sure. Very
yeah.
emotional.
And we saw you in the polar plunge
Yes.
commemorating the 1 year and the team who helped save your life. So that was a cool video to watch. But yeah, tell us a story.
Well,
Give us some background and
um,
give us the day of. And
so New Year's, I was actually starting to feel not myself, probably like the week before, and I had gone to the movies. I believe I was on the 29th, and we ordered food, and everything looked great. And I love to eat. So my Instagram page is a lot of food reviews from me. I'm like my own little phantom gourmet kind of thing. And had not been eating. I was going to the bathroom every 30 minutes, and I don't do that. I just don't. Like I said, and I was drinking a lot of fluids, a lot. Like I went through a 12 pack of Coke Zero in, I don't know, 2 hours. And I'm like, this is not like me. And had I had known the signs before, I could have probably prevented what happened to me. But I had made a doctor's appointment, but obviously they couldn't see me till the 4th of January. And I'm like, okay. So New Year's Eve, I went to sleep. I always stay up and watch the ball drop, always. So I don't remember that. I don't know if it's just because I was tired. I went to sleep from basically New Year's Eve until January 4th. I don't remember any of this. So basically, I was found by my mom, unresponsive in my room. Like I said, I don't remember this. Called 911, took me to Beverly Hospital. While I was there, they didn't have the equipment to help me there. And they were going to take me to Leahy in Burlington. Now, the situation was so dire that the 35-minute ambulance ride was not going to be quick enough. And so they had to med flight me there. I definitely want to give my props to Boston Med Flight. They are an amazing organization, nonprofit organization. Please give when you have the chance. They save millions of lives. So I guess on the way there, I ended up having 2 strokes on my right side. The doctors thought I was going to be paralyzed, and I'm not. I had 2 seizures. I was on the way there. And when I got to Leahy, my blood sugar level was 2,275. From what I didn't know anything about blood sugar, no clue anything about this. So I guess that was 21 times over what it should have been. And so the doctors all there had told me that when you get to 500 or 600, usually you go into a coma and die. With my blood sugar that high, I went into a coma. They basically called my family and said, plan for his funeral. He is not coming out of this. And thankfully, 4 days later, I woke up from my coma. I am a type 2 diabetic, and it was the scariest thing in my life that I dealt with when I woke up in the hospital. I obviously had no clue where I was, why I was there, what was going on. I was in the hospital a total of 11 days. While I was there, they took me down for an MRI and they found a benign tumor that is sitting right here between my eyes. It's 12. Yeah, yes, I know. As if I didn't have anything else going on, right? But it's benign, but it's still, because it's a benign tumor, it can still grow. So every 6 months, I get an MRI. I'm actually going on the 23rd for my 6 months checkup to make sure. As of right now, my eyesight is 20/20. It is not affecting my eyesight, but basically, I am always a positive person. I could have chose two things: either to go down the road of being depressed about the situation, or learning about and living with this and fighting it. And so I'm happy to say that when I left the hospital, I was on insulin 4 times a day, 3 rapid acting insulin shots, and 1 long lasting. I don't take insulin anymore. I just take metformin once a day. I'm off my seizure medication altogether. And I do take Trulicity once a week to manage the weight. So when I went into the hospital, I was 235 pounds. As of this morning, I am 191. And like I said, I am walking 2 to 4 miles a day. Back then, back before this happened, I would walk a mile a day and be winded and be like, can't do it. Now I walk and I feel like I can keep going. I'm actually going to do the Tour de Cure bicycle challenge. I'm going to do the 15-mile run. I'm not sure why I picked that one, but I'm going to do it. I have changed my eating habits. I stay away from they said stay away from everything white. So it's all wheat bread, wheat pasta, wheat rice. I'm eating healthy chicken Caesar wraps. And it's not to mean that I can't cheat every once in a while, because you can, but you have to be disciplined in it. And I choose to live life and be happy. And I want to help other people, like doing this podcast. I'm sure there's people out there depressed about this situation, but you can live a happy life if you just do what you have to do to live with the disease. And I just choose to go that way.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom, just like hearing your story and just hearing, I remember when we first met, just like being so proud of someone I didn't know and so happy for, and just like rooting for someone who I'd met 3 minutes before. And all of that just came back again. The walking, the eating healthy, the losing so much weight. Honestly, just congratulations on everything you've been able to
Thank
accomplish in the past year. It's truly amazing. And I think one thing I wanted to note is, as part of your story, you mentioned that your blood sugar was at 2,272. Is that right? Something
Yes,
like that.
yes.
For reference, for people who might not know this, a high blood sugar starts at 180. 180 is considered a high blood sugar. So for him to be at 2,200 is astronomically high. I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but truly a
And
miracle
every time
that
I go to doctor's appointments, either MRIs or whatever, even when I was in recovery, in the recovery room in late heat, there would be nurses and doctors that would come by and they'd be like, "This is the guy," and they would check the chart. Like no one believed it. And when I go to these doctor's appointments, when and stuff like that, when I go somewhere new, like all the nurses will be checking, and they're like, "Is this right? Is this right?" And I'm like, it's right. And I keep it on my phone for people who I'm like, here it is right
yeah, yeah,
here.
you showed it.
And I
You
guess
sh-
I checked online because I thought I might be entitled to a Cadillac or something, but I checked the Guinness Book of World Records, and the highest ever recorded is only one other person, and his was 2,600. So I
ah,
have to say, I'm probably second behind him. I
yeah.
haven't heard of any others being that high. And doctors, doctors are just, when I saw my neurologist a few months back, the doctors here are still talking about you to this day. They're not sure how and you came out of that, but I'm just thankful that I did.
mean, it's amazing. You've listened to our other podcast episodes, so you
Yes.
know that we have like a running tally of who has the highest
Yeah.
blood sugar. And before you, it was 1,300 as part of their diagnosis story. So I think you have shattered
I
and
think
will hold the record. But I'm sure you're happy. This is one of the few instances where you're probably happy you don't have first place on
yeah.
highest blood sugar. And I guess you're easygoing. It sounds like for you, you've always wanted to stay positive and just, do you take the punches and do what you can, do the best you can with what you have.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, but I'm going to push back here.
Yes.
I'm sure those early days, like you said, you woke up and you had no clue where you were. In those early days, I'm sure there were points where you have your low points. Even happy-go-lucky people,
Oh,
I find myself to be a happy-go-lucky person, and
yeah.
I'll be the first to say that I have tons of low points. It's lots of hard things happening all the time. But let's talk about one of those low points.
Oh,
Tell me, like what it felt like, what were you dealing with, what you were experiencing, and then how you got out of it.
well,
Because it's important to hear about it, but it's also important to hear
yes.
how you overcame it. So
Yeah. Waking up. So when I woke up in the hospital, I literally thought it was a dream. I thought I was dreaming this whole thing. And they were constantly checking on me, but I guess at the point I woke up, there was like a shift change going on. So there was like no one around. Okay. I saw like vaguely doctors and it was all blurry because I'm sure I was drugged up on everything. I had IVs in both my arms and everything, and it just the scariest thing. And I didn't realize I had a small tube down my throat. Obviously, that's how I was being fed, and that's part of how I lost a lot of the weight at first. So I don't recommend that diet to anyone. But yeah, I was scared out of my. I couldn't talk. I had really no voice. And the funny thing was, because I still had no clue what had happened to me, when the doctor finally came in, the first question was not what was wrong with me or if I was going to live or die, but I'm a singer. So my first question was, am I going to get my voice back? And originally he told me no. And that got me depressed even more because music is literally my life. And I think I was determined. It was such a low point. Like literally did. I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be like this. And like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with my faith as well in God. My church, place called Sounds of a New Beginning on Washington Street in Dorchester. Just give props to them. Just my faith helped me a lot to deal with this, and just my I think thankfully my personality, like I said, you can take two roads to this. I could have gotten depressed and just went down a road where I could have just said, I guess this is it when I can't get better. And I think a lot of times, like I've talked to some people and my doctors, and they said that I've done this turnaround is because a lot of people, when they find out they have diabetes, they're just like, all right, yeah. They just think they can just keep eating the way they did and keep doing what they did, and then their health just gets deteriorates even more or they die from it. And I'm like, I don't want to die. I'm just such a person that loves life and just loves to be around people, loves to laugh with people and smile with people. And I chose, okay, you know what, I'm going to tackle this head on. What do you need me to do, doctors? What do you need me to do? And I have followed everything to a T. I don't like to exercise, I don't like to take long walks, but I do it, force myself to do it, and like I said, after I feel amazing. That the polar plunge scared the crap out of me, and I was like, oh, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But then I realized the cause, and I realized, hey, I'm still alive to be able to do this. The shock of hitting the water was unbelievable, and but after again, I felt great. I pushed myself to get better, and like I said, each day I wake up is a blessing, and I want to give back and help other people who might be depressed or might think this disease can get the best of you. It can't. It can be controlled. It can be, but again, you have to want to do the things you need to do to change. If you don't do that, it's not going to work like everything else in life.
yeah, what a story. And I want to know. You mentioned you didn't know anything about diabetes beforehand. And so I think it's one of those, you literally woke up and you had diabetes, right? So,
Yeah.
and I guess my question is, what was most surprising to you to learn about what is diabetes, and what it is like to live with diabetes, and talk more about that piece.
It's a wake up call for sure. You go through life and you just hope that you live a normal, healthy life and then you die of old age. That's what everybody wants. And so this is a major wrinkle that was thrown into my life. It totally changed the way I think, the way I feel, the way I get up every morning, and I just first thank God for being here, and just it changes how you have to. So I wear the Libre 3 glucose patch. That is my lifeline. That is my binky. Like that, I look at that constantly, all the time. Like this is that's a beautiful straight line right there. See that? It's amazing to have that as my backfall. And I wish I had known about all that beforehand, and I wish I had known about the signs beforehand. I could have probably prevented me going into the hospital, but just educating myself on the disease now. Here's the thing: I'm not a big sweets eater. I don't eat a lot of candy. I don't. I love to eat, and I wasn't eating healthy by any stretch of the imagination. I would order a cheese pizza or whatever, and I would eat the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie. I love to eat, but now it's discipline in eating in moderation, and the Trulicity helps, and the exercise helps, and everything. And I think just the positive attitude about it helps. But yeah, it's life changing for a lot of people. And to hear other people's stories at the American Diabetes thing that we went to, how people have to, like that lady who had to monitor her blood sugar level, all that, she's a school teacher, has to monitor it like every hour, and her daughter has to monitor her, and it takes up her time. Like it's mentally tough. You just have to be mentally tough about it. And I just think that having the positive attitude and just knowing, hey, I can live with this if I just do the right things. Like I said, my faith definitely helps in that. And any way that I can help people just live your life, but just know that you have to change. You have to change. If you don't change, it will consume you. It's a disease that will consume you mentally, physically. I had to basically learn. I was in the hospital 11 days, so I could not walk. I went into Market Basket thinking I could go food shopping once I got out. I went down one aisle. I thought I was literally going to die. Could not, like I was exhausted. I had to literally learn how to walk again. It just like baby steps of when I was a kid. But again, I was determined to 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, watching my diet, doing the right things. And I, I'm happy. I love life even more now. And just every day I wake up is a blessing. I'm just glad to be here talking to you today because it wasn't supposed to happen. Just the positive attitude, the mental aspects of it. It can be taxing on the brain, but if you do the right things, you can live with it for sure.
Yeah, wow. Tom, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. That was, normally I say, do you have anything else you want to say? But that was a perfect way to end it. Thank
Yeah,
you for
there's
coming
three
on today,
things I
Tom.
would tell people. Three things is education on the disease, educate yourself, and knowledge, determination to get it in your mind that you got to change. And if you have faith, I would say faith. Definitely three things that have helped me. And I just say to everybody out there, just do the right thing, and you can live and survive with this disease for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy early birthday,
Thank you,
Tom.
sir.
And thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Project Podcast. We're trying to make these a bit shorter now. So as you notice, this is a bit over 20 minutes rather than an hour or longer. Let us know in the comments if you like the shorter version, if you prefer the longer ones. Follow us on social media, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and YouTube, and we will see you at the next one.